Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk Shokugeki no Soma, or Food Wars, chapter 232. Alright, I can't talk like that for too long. Anyway, hey guys, Soma, chapter 232, let's talk about it. So, this week's chapter, we just get into the cooking. You know, it's that same pattern. We have those weeks of people talking, and then we get into the weeks of people talking while making good food. So that's the step that we are in now. This chapter does have something of interest, or not something of interest, but like something like the cliffhanger this week was different because now it's talking about a plot point that we had no idea was ever in play here. So, you know, that's going to be like a bit of a fun discussion because ultimately I think this is a situation where they're hyping this up, but it's really not that big a deal. And it'll be very interesting to see how the series actually like handles this little plot point. But yeah, before that, we just have the cooking going on. So there's a few things of interest here. This is the Soma versus Saito chapter. This is the chapter that's, you know, capturing their conflict. Not a big deal. It doesn't have that much weight behind it. Like Soma versus Saito isn't that. Again, it's not a big deal. The characters don't really have any kind of investment in each other. They have no other conflict other than I have to beat you right now because that's what my team wants. Their conflict almost non-existent. Like they're just two guys who happen to cross each other on the road and they're about to slash at each other, like old school samurai style. So yeah, you know, you have that, and because of that, it ends up, when it comes to just Soma and Saito, it just ends up being more. There's more focus going on with the cooking because there isn't that extra emotional factor going into their conflict. Now, I don't really know what I can say about the cooking process. I can't really make any guesses here. But hey, Soma's doing his diner methods. Saito seems to be doing something cool. He's respecting that Soma is dangerous. That's cool. What else is going on in there? Soma slept through his butter lectures with Erina. I feel really bad for the girl. Overall, you know, it's Soma being Soma. Just continuing on with that, the refreshing thing here is that his opponent is not underestimating him, that his opponent sees the danger that this kid's presenting, and that's nice. Again, like Saito, overall, he's not really a bad guy. I think he's kind of cool. I mean, like, aside from his like real kind of weird dedication to samurai shit, you know, I think he's a nice guy. I think this would be a you know, if circumstances were different, I think this would be a relatively decent guy. But overall, there's just not much else going on with that segment other than to say like, hey, what are they gonna do? Butter is such a weird ingredient. How are we gonna deal with this? But Soma's probably gonna pull through. It'll probably be fine. It's probably like, it's a non-issue. Again, big thing here. Saito's respecting Soma. Soma's using a interesting ingredient, and everyone is just salivating at the smell of butter. I was too. I went and had popcorn while I was reading this one. So yeah, Soma made me hungry. Anyway, before that though, we did get one interesting segment, and that was the little thing at the refrigerators where they were getting the ingredients. And for that one, I thought that was interesting because they used that segment for character interactions, but they also hyped up the conflict between Aizen and Takumi, and that's just really weird. I think it's they're forcing it too much actually. You know, Aizen starts it off by saying like, "Hey, quit glaring at me," and that's just telling us, hey, like, yeah, Takumi's got his eyes set on this guy. Like, what bone does Takumi have to pick with this guy? Like, again, all I can think of is back during the autumn elections, like the Subaru thing. But even then, Takumi got beat by someone of like skill. And I remember a commenter also pointed that out last time. What other conflict does Takumi have with Aizen? So, you know, they're hyping this up, and I wonder if we're going to end up getting like a joke out of this. Like, it's going to be something stupid. I hope not. Takumi's not that type of character. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens here. And we also get to see Momo for a little bit. It's not a big deal with her either. She's just continuing to be her. Yeah. You know, there's one thing that, you know, and it's just an aside. It's just every time I see Momo, I get really annoyed. And now knowing that she's a character that looks down on people, it's just like, it's ridiculous how people are allowed to be utter assholes just because they're good at something. Like, man, screw her. That's all I can really say about Momo. I want Megumi to beat her really bad, guys. I don't like her. Every time she shows up, she's just annoying. Anyway, moving on. That was just an aside because I don't really have much else to talk about for this one. Let's talk about the last little bit of the chapter, the whole thing with the hand picking. So Azami's off visiting the old man, and they seem to be having a very important discussion, with Azami premising, oh, you're the one that picked out the 92nd generation. Alright, so that's just, are they hyping this up for no other reason? Like, we know what happened with Senzaemon, right? We know that he recommended for Soma to come into Totsuki. We know that he was there to make sure that Irina wasn't going to screw him over with his plans, because now it looks like he had a legitimate plan. Like, he didn't want Irina's ego getting in the way, so that's why he was there, because he knew that Soma was good enough. So this whole thing about handpicking the Jewel Generation, we should assume that the Jewel Generation is not every other kid who's in the crowd right now. Like, all the kids are booing or heckling the rebels. We should assume that the Jewel Generation doesn't really refer to them, because, like, here's how you could take it. Like, first off, do you take that statement that he handpicked the Jewel Generation? Do you take the Jewel Generation as being all of the 92nd generation, or do you take it as being the chefs that are really good, the ones that were able to fight off the original purge when they were like taking out all the research societies? Are the chefs that were present in those battles, are they specifically the Jewel Generation? Because I don't remember, how does it work in Totsuki? You know, you get rid of so much in your first year. How many enrolled in the first year of Totsuki? I can't recall, but I know, you know, every year in Totsuki, they drop down the numbers as they go up into third year, whatever. When he's talking about the Jewel Generation, I really do think it just means he handpicked a handful of the Jewel Generation. I think the Jewel Generation refers to a very small subset within the 92nd generation. And we should assume that the people in that subset are the ones that had placements during the oh man, my mind, during the autumn elections. Yeah, that's it. We should assume that the ones who were able to get past the preliminaries, the ones that were recommended for the preliminaries, they are the ones that he handpicked. And we also know that he wanted to save Irina. We know that his generation, Irina's generation, were going to be the ones that could help her out. So he wanted her to have friends. So we also know that quite a few of them were in Totsuki from middle school. So it becomes the question of, which ones exactly did he handpick? Did he handpick Megumi? Megumi was in middle school. She was in the middle school part of Totsuki. Did he handpick her? Did he go to a town, a very small town off in the countryside, find Megumi's inn, and ask her mom, hey, like, I recommend her into this school? Is that how like her mom like got into sending her to Totsuki? Possible. Did he go to Italy, or did he talk to back to Takumi's dad and told him like, hey, send your kid to middle school, let him go all the way to high school if he wants to do it? Did he go that far with that generation? You know, it's a big question here, because it's like there's a layer of logistics that has to be acknowledged, and then there's a layer of like, why? How did he know these kids were going to rise to the challenge? Or is it the absolute extreme, in which case every single kid in that generation got a recommendation from the principal? Like, he went to each of these people's parents and be like, hey, I recommend you guys could come to this school. I think it'll be good for him. You know, that's the question that I'm now at. I really don't think it's the extreme situation of he handpicked all of them. I think there is a subset within that place, within Totsuki, that he handpicked. Like, and handpicked is pretty much the same as him, what he did with Jochiro, just telling him like, hey, I recommend you put your boy in this school. I think that's what we're going for. So in terms of who he might have actually have handpicked, well, very simply, it could have been Kurokiba, Alice, Soma. We know Soma's already in it. Let's see, who else? Akira, most likely, because he knows June. June works in their school. He could have easily have recommended her. And who else? Really, who else? Unless also, like, there might be something that this whole thing about the Jewel Generation. This might be the actual hand picking might have happened something else, because he's saying, Azami's words are like, since the 92nd generation, the Jewel generation were all handpicked by you. Maybe they didn't become the Jewel generation until Senzaemon put them up to the test during the autumn election. Because we know the autumn elections, like people, you were picked to be in the autumn elections based on your merit. Is that where the handpicking start? You know, did it start there at that moment? Because then it's pretty much, I want to give these students an opportunity to get better because I think that they have the potential to do so. So that might be the point where it actually happened, now that I'm thinking about it, because we have this scenario where we know that the autumn elections, you were just placed in there based on merit, and we did not know who was involved in the initial judging of merit. And we do know that people were surprised that Megumi was put in there because before Soma got around, she was in a very terrible spot. So, is that where it happened? Is it at the moment of the autumn elections, those people that got picked to be in the preliminaries for the autumn elections, is that the actual Jewel generation? Because then it's in a case of like, Totsuki's rhetoric is all about sharpening yourself against your contemporaries. So it makes sense. You want to nurture good chefs, you put them in competition against each other and you cause them to grow from their competition. So that might be the scenario we're actually going for here, but we'll have to see. Next week's gonna be the big decider. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. That's pretty much it. I feel really bad still about the part with Momo, and you know, yeah, we're ending it there. Sorry guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have anything to say, let me know down below. Until next time, I hope you have a great day.